Senior Special Assistant, Media and Publicity to President Buhari, Malam Garuba Shehu, was quoted as saying that the 43 farmers slaughtered by Boko Haram in Zabamari, Borno State, did not secure the military's approval before setting out for their farmlands. Like wildfire, the statement caught on and has been the subject of endless interpretations on both the social and mainstream media. Well, in reaction to all the buzz, Mr. Shehu Garuba was on Newsnight on Arise News last night. Let's take a listen to how he reacted before getting to our first guest.
Look, the standard practice is that Borno is still under military operation. And the rules of engagement on the ground are that movements by government officials, by traders from one town to another, even UN officials, standard practice is that they usually notify the general officer commanding, even if nothing is expected to happen. So the fact that this incident happened is not to say that anybody is blaming the victims for the incident. No, the thing to say is that that area, as the military have said over and over again, is still under the threat of mines. Landmines have been buried there, and it's yes, subject to terrorist attacks. And so therefore, the military are in a better position if they happen to know that certain engagements are going on and they're able to provide assistance. But this incident has happened. We regret it. It is unfortunate. Nobody has any intention to blame the victim.
Did you get any specific reports from the Nigerian military to say that indeed these farmers, who really are largely illiterate, did not get clearance from them? And if indeed they usually would get clearance, what are the channels of, that these farmers would actually use in getting clearance from the military?
My suggestion in that earlier news report was that the military had not certified those areas as being free of landmines and terrorist intrusions. Whether there are processes for getting licenses or permissions, it's not for me. It's not that the military is in a better position to describe those processes. But asked the question: have you given a clean sheet to that part of the state as to landmines and terrorist activities? The military said no, nothing like that is issued.
Very quickly, I need to get this from you. You've just come back from Borno State, where you went to commiserate with the governor and people of Borno for this dastardly killings by Boko Haram. What were your findings and what did you take away from that visit? The people were very happy to see a delegation sent to them by President Muhammadu Buhari. And they said themselves that they are quite pleased to see that that the president is aware of the plight, the losses they had suffered, and has shown attachment to their feelings at this time of their grief. Other than that, the president used the opportunity to restate his determination to take the war against terrorists to them, rather than waiting for them to come and to react. And he has given full commitment that he's going to supply all of the needs of the military in order that they face this war and finish it up. His commitment to ending this insurgency and all forms of violence and criminality all across Nigeria was vigorously restated today, and he has clearly stated that he's ready to move forward on this situation. Yes, you do say that Mr. President is very committed, and part of that commitment that Nigerians are expecting is the outright sack or removal of the service chiefs. Why exactly is President Buhari reluctant to let the service chiefs go, in spite of the fact that they have overstayed even their tenure?
I'm not aware that the tenure of army chiefs is subject to any law or regulation that is clearly stated. They serve at the pleasure of the president. If the president is satisfied with their performance, he keeps them, and the buck stops on his table. With all due respect to the feelings of fellow Nigerians, the clamor for the sack, is out of place, considering that the president is not subject to the opinion of the opposition political party, which has clamored for this all the time, and other people who think that they have a role in it. It's entirely his own determination. He decides who he keeps as a service chief and for how long. The laws don't prescribe a term limit.
Back to the issue very quickly before I let you go, the issue of the brutally murdered farmers. You insist that the Nigerian military has total control of all of Borno State. If that is the case, so would the farmers really be required then to seek clearance from the military to go to their farms?
I think that if you replay my language, I didn't say that it's under total Borno, is under total control. What I said is that it's under military operation. And the military operation, while it subsists, there are regulations that they put on the ground. And people can decide to abide by those regulations. And if they think they are okay, they don't need to abide by those regulations, and then they are free to act. There is nothing that says that people are being forced to do things they don't want to do.
Well, joining us now to take a closer look at what has increasingly become Boko Haram's onslaught against farmers, food insecurity in Nigeria, and an increasingly irrepressible army of occupation is Dr. Nwokolo, team lead at Nextier SPD, an international development and research firm, which has been tracking the welfare of internally displaced persons across the region, as well as the impact of terrorist activities on the socio-economic structures supporting the lives of the people. Welcome to the program, Dr. Nwokolo. Good morning.
Thank you, Dr. Abati, for having me. And
yes.
Thank you to Tony and Rufa.
Thank you, Dr. Nwokolo. Good to see you again. Very quickly, what are your thoughts on what is going on in the northeastern flank of the country, where on Saturday, a few days ago, 43 farmers were slaughtered. Well, this is not the first time Boko Haram would strike in this kind of horrific and gruesome manner. But the nature of this latest onslaught has elicited serious outrage, and the implications are also very frightening with regard to food security, with regard to the displacement of persons, and with regard to the response of the authorities. Over to you.
Well, okay, first let me start with the statement by the senior assistant to the president on media that the farmers did not get clearance. I think that statement is without tact, it lacks empathy, and lacks intelligence. You don't say that. And I like the question that was posed to him by the anchor of the program from Arise, which is, these are illiterate farmers. Do they need clearance? It's very obvious that our problem is problem of strategy, implementation, and programming. Why these farmers, if you watch over a month ago and so on, the governor of the state has been telling people from the state to go back to farm or die of hunger. So if you relate that to the statement made by the media assistant to the president, is a bit contradictory. And the question would be, does it mean that this Borno state and the army are all working in silos? Does it mean there's no relationship between the two? The next question could be, does that mean that there is no security architecture that has been developed for these farmers, knowing that this is a harvesting season, that these farmers would like to go back to farm? I think no Nigerian wants to beg. These people from Borno State are not happy living in camps. They don't want to be fed by anybody. They want to feed themselves, and that's why they are going back to their farms. So if you look at that statement, I think is out of place. There is no intelligence about it. You could see that it's more politicking than policy. You cannot put the two together. He was talking about the army has not certified that they can go back to that part of Borno State, you know? So, and the question could be, so does it mean that the people have not been relating with the army? It seems that everything is everywhere. There's no coordination, you know? So this is where we are, and we are likely to be facing a serious food insecurity crisis, and we need to start doing something. What has Boko Haram done with the killing of these 43 farmers? They have just instilled fear into these people, and they will all desert their farms. And you can check the rising price of food in the country. Borno State is one of our food basket. So we are facing a serious situation, and we need to act and act now.
We certainly do, Doctor. I mean, I always find it staggering when people ask rape victims what they were wearing. But that statement from Garba Shehu is taking victim blaming to the lowest depths that I've ever heard of in my life. I would actually like your comments on reports that the farmers were resisting attempts by Boko Haram to extort them for money, that they were demanding some kind of levy from the farmers, and that this is why Boko Haram attacked them with such ferocity. And also, what does this incident do with the plan that Governor Zulum of Borno State had announced that all the IDP camps will be closed next May 2021? Will this cause a delay?
Of course, you could see that these farmers, if this is an agri community, they're going to desert their communities. And what would they be doing? They will be heading back to the IDP camps. You know, so I think the plan by Governor Zulum, there will be a wedge to it now. And then it will increase the number of IDPs that we have. Because apart from that, we have government-organized IDPs. We have the informal ones, littered and scattered all over Borno State, as well as people who have taken in relations to stay with them. So I think we are between a hard place and I really don't know what to call the other place now. So the situation is really bad. And if you flip it to the other side of the country, which is the northeast, when you ask me the question that there is a kind of an insinuation that they were resisting paying levy to Boko Haram, it's equally happening all over the country. It's happening in Zamfara State, it's happening in Niger State, it's happening in Kebbi, it's happening in Sokoto, it's happening in Katsina. Farmers are suffering. You can't go to your farm now without bandits coming to take levy from you. The other day, I have my researchers in Kauranaunda in Zamfara State telling me that they actually wrote to farmers asking them to pay levy before they can go back to harvest their products. You know, some of my researchers tracking food issues of rising food insecurity in the country came back yesterday to tell us that as close as Nasarawa State, that bag of beans, which farmers sold for 10,500 naira last year, will be sold for 21 to 22,000 naira this year. They've not harvested already. The issue is that even apart from harvesting, no person wants to put, if you're a transporter, you don't even want to put your vehicle into those areas to go and get the food out of those inner part of the country. Because Boko Haram is controlling, like in Borno State, they're actually controlling the northern part of Borno. Nobody should tell you anything apart from what I'm telling you. They are controlling the northern part of Borno. Apart from that, all the roads, they are in control. So even if you come out from, say, Maiduguri, you can't actually go 5 kilometers into any part of Borno without watching your back. Anything can happen. So apart from harvesting, issues of transportation and getting other value chain activities around agriculture is an issue. So it's difficult. It's really difficult. So it's not only the Northeast. We're equally experiencing the same situation in the Northwest, as well as some part of the North Central country, part of this country.
And as well as Ondo State, you know, because like you stated, we're between the rock and a hard place, as well as Ondo State, where the farm of Olufalaye has been constantly, former presidential candidate Olufalaye has been constantly attacked. But I want to have more on food insecurity. The Minister of Agriculture recently said that the borders will be shut and, using the exact words, the kids will be thrown into the sea. That's what the Minister of Agriculture said. Food inflation has constantly increased from August last year. Now it's inching towards 17%. And you know, when food inflation increases, because it's like cost-push inflation in this country, it pulls along the core inflation with it. And we are seeing an increase in the core inflation numbers in this country. What should we be doing for food security? I don't know what the national storage or national grains reserve is like now as we speak. How long can it take us? Because, for instance, if that rice that was supposed to be harvested by this 43 that were killed is not harvested, what happens to the paddy on the field and many other paddies and things like that? So how long are we going to go before we start to feel the bite of food insecurity?
Well, my recommendation or my answer to your question would be this. What are the quick wins for this government? What are the low-hanging fruits? Insecurity is connected to every part of development. So it's connected to poverty, it's connected to bad governance, it's connected to ungovernance spaces, it's connected to a lot of things. So the question is, what should the government be doing now? What should we be doing as of yesterday? There was the question that was asked, why is the president not removing the service chief? Yes, we all agree, they serve at his prerogative. So no one can tell the president to remove them. But the question should be, if you have a coach who, after playing in a league match, after playing 10 matches, lost all of them, will you continue to keep the coach? On what basis are you keeping the coach? I think that should be a question for the government. And the next question for the government should be, when President Buhari took over in 2015, he felt I needed to have quick wins, I needed to do something and do it fast. And what I need to do was to remove all the service chiefs, bring in new people with new fresh idea, fresh rigor, and give them new mandate. And it does work in everywhere. So the question would be, I think if he tried to rejiggle his service chief, bring in new people with fresh idea, they will come in with new rigor to try to succeed. They might give in those quick wins. They will come in with new strategy. They will wage the war, and we can have an improvement. You know. So I think that's what we should be doing now. What we should be doing more is from the point of policy and implementation. That's what we should be doing, and that's where we are lacking. The synergies are not working. We should be able to find new realignment and new synergy that could see us, you know, get these things to start working. For now, if we continue to do the old things, we're not going to get new results. So he needs to try to find a way to for us to develop a new strategy that can help us wage this crisis, get the farmers back, and if possible, develop a kind of internal security architecture around our farms and our agricultural enterprises to see if we can cut short this food crisis that we're about facing.
Well, Dr. Nwokolo, I mean, one major fallout of the killings in Zabarema is the impression, and we have seen the evidence, that, you know, government officials, even the military authorities, are busy blaming the people. You have reacted to the statement by Garuba Shehu. There's also another report in the papers today indicating that the people are are the ones who give information to Boko Haram instead of giving information to the security agencies. And you have field researchers in that part of the country. What's your assessment of the attitude of the people in terms of the efforts of government to protect them? Do they feel that government is not really interested in fighting Boko Haram, or is it just that they accept, the Boko Haram terrorists as a victim also, perhaps? What's your sense of what is out there on the field? Because sometimes you don't understand some of these things.
My next, my immediate answer is to ask our government officials to go and read some of the publications we've been doing in Nextier SPD to get some of the answers. But I will give some of the answers here. There's a book written by one author, Oliver Cleveland, and the book is Resisting War, where he did almost a similar research about what you are asking. This research was conducted in Colombia, Pakistan, and Afghanistan about how communities react to terrorist insurgency and wars around them. They react based on how they perceive their relationship with the state, in this case, the government and the military, and the relationship with the terrorist group. Where would their safety lie? That is a major question. If I give information to the army and the next day I'm attacked by Boko Haram, am I likely to go back and give again? That is the question. Government should answer this. How come each time these farmers or these communities come around to say, we saw them around this place, 2 days later, that community will be overrun by Boko Haram? So what Boko Haram is doing, terrorism is a war of fear. They want to instill fear in these communities. And that's why you saw the killing. They slashed their throat to make it a hard watch in such a way that each time it comes to your head as a villager, you don't go near the military. So unless we're able to win the mind and hearts of these communities, show them that we have the ability to protect them, you're not going to get the best local intelligence from them. So we need to do a lot. We need to do a lot of soul searching. We need to develop, policies that are so peculiar to these communities, military tactics that are so peculiar, making sure that they can buy into what we are doing, making sure that they see that the state has the ability to protect them. That's the only way they can give you intelligence. So if they feel that they cannot give you, you cannot protect them, so they will just take the honorable style of see no evil, say no evil, do no evil. They want to stay on their own. Don't take government anything. Don't take Boko Haram anything. And for them, if they stay that way, it might even be safer for them. So government need to win their mind and their soul before you can have them give you such information. And I think that's where we are lacking.
That's a really important point and incredibly sad. I want to take you back to the IDP camps and what is the current condition now within them? How has the COVID-19 crisis affected the IDP camps, and even voluntary donations that the IDPs are so reliant on? How has that been impacted with the economic downturn?
Tony, I love that question you asked. And then I might come back to ask you a question, which is, have you ever read that there's this government working group that is, between all our departments and ministries working together? Let's say Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs working with Ministry of Health and the Northeast Development Commission and other agencies working together to look at the situation in the IDP camps? No.
Not once.
Everybody, is running their own budget, doing what they want to do. There's no cooperation, there's no synergy, they are not working together. So even if COVID-19 is a health issue, but we have a humanitarian crisis, meaning that Ministry of Health should be working with the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, as well as Northeast Development Commission, as well as other agencies that are that should be doing one bit of work or the other in the Northeast. That's why we have ministries. So where ministries do not have that multi-stakeholder engagement to sit down, work together, things will never work. And I think part of our problem is, sorry I'm saying this on the national TV, but I love this country, so I have to say the truth. Do we even have people who have the capability to do it in our ministries? Do we? So I think that's the question we should be asking ourselves. If we have people who have the capability to sit down and write do a good programming around this, probably we shouldn't be where we are today. So that's where we need to start. Our federal ministries are attracting the best to come and work for them. Our government departments are attracting the best to come and work for them. Until our ministries, our departments are filled in by Nigerians who are eggheads and the best in the world, we cannot get out of where we are. That is our major problem. The best are not there.
Okay.
Until we attract the best to work in our departments and ministry, then we'll have an answer to some of these issues that we are crying over today.
Okay, I mean, you made a great point about Kaplan's book, and even if you read Mystery of Capital by Hernando de Soto, he talked about, the economic warfare, how the Shining Path rebels in Peru were defeated by just giving the people property rights in that area, and they could trust the government, and automatically it was game over for the Shining Path rebel. And that synergy is also very important. But that synergy will make me segue into, the issues about the mental warfare now. How can we win the mental warfare? And these constant accusations of complicity. You have field officers on the ground. You have enumerators on the ground. What are they seeing as regards all of this? And also talk me through the mental, how can we win the mental warfare? Because like you said, you were right. These people peddle fear, to be able to sink into the psyche of a lot of people. And now Boko Haram has become a buzzword, very popular because of the mental understanding, and they've been able to fight a mental war. So how can we rebuff this and also help the people to be able to be on the side of government and fight this and the issues of complicity?
Two quick ways. One, we need to stop denying. Let's stop denying what the situation is. I think, it's like when you keep lying to yourself. You keep telling yourself, oh, I'm white-skinned. After a while, you start believing that you're Caucasian. I think that's our problem. Let's stop denying and put what the fact is on the ground. Then we're able to deal with it. That's one. Two, we need to move from politicking to policy. When government officials, especially people who could influence people's thinking and orientation, come on national TV and lie to our face, it becomes a critical issue. We don't even know where to start. So we need to move from politicking or politics to policy. That's the only way we can work. Secondly, there is need to start thinking about bringing everybody on board. This is not an election year. So I don't want to hear about APC, PDP. I want to hear Nigerians come together. By now, we should be having, a multi-party stakeholder engagement. Parties sitting down, all the political parties sitting down with all the Nigerians sitting down and trying to find out what is the solution. If there's a problem, because the issue is that we keep thinking that terrorism or anti-terrorism is driven by the military. No, it's driven by the state, anchored by the government. The military is just a part of it. But that's what we are lacking. We are heaping all the blame somehow on the military. But we are forgetting that this is a package that is supposed to be driven by the government. The state through the government. Now, how good are we engaging with our international partners? What do we even know they are doing? So it should be in such a way that the military or the government may not be disclosing some of the things they are doing, but there's ones that are supposed to be on, public domain, so that seeing it, Nigerians can key into it, and it can use that to start rebuilding faith in what we are doing. For instance, if I'm a local NGO worker in Borno, and each day my work entails me going to these communities to do one sort of work or the other, I have my own family to take care of. I have my own safety. Probably, if anything happens to me, it will affect 6 or 7 people who I feed. Each day I go to those communities, I'm asking myself, am I able to come back? After a while, I might be asking myself, why would I continue to take this risk, especially if I'm not even sure what the government is doing? So until government starts reassuring people that they are doing something, and they are doing something that could lead to the end of this war, we'll continue to lose weight in both the local communities and aid agencies, both local and international, who are working in these communities.
Well, if you are talking about reassurance, I think the government is doing very well in that regard. We get press statements on a regular basis, with spokespersons telling Nigerians that the government would make sure that it decimates and that it has in fact already defeated Boko Haram. So there isn't a shortage of initiative in terms of issuing such statements. But, I mean, your farm works on security, peace, and development. We've been talking about the Northwest, the Northeast, the North Central, but the challenge that we face is nationwide. In the Niger Delta now, a group of militants called Reformed Niger Delta Avengers, they are threatening to start attacking oil and gas installations. In the Southwest and the East, there are reported cases of banditry, kidnapping. The highways are no longer safe. Even the rail lines are not safe. The trains are perpetually breaking down, and people are being exposed to danger. But there is a theory that, look, maybe it's the opposition that is behind all of this, although you say you don't want to hear about this party or that party, or that there are certain elements who are just trying to sabotage government. From your research, do you see the hands of fifth columnists behind this? If not, then what do you think is really the problem?
Dr. Abadi, let me start by the last statement you made. I think that statement of reassuring is someone being, I don't know, but that's just, it's not that kind of assurance that the people want. The people want to see the military, see the government actively engage the terrorists and do something that could be reassuring to them, not when you come and make press statements. That's not the kind of assurance they want. Now back to the question you asked. For someone to align that the issues of insecurity in the country has something to do with the fifth colonies or maybe one political party or the other, it's not that the person is just being economical with truth. It's just someone lying to the face of Nigerians. I don't think that's the situation. What we're facing now didn't start with the government of President Buhari. It didn't start with President. It has something that built over the years, So if we are blaming, maybe we can start blaming from 1960, or even pre-1960. But the question should be, are we finding solution? What kind of solution are we finding? Are we trying to find to help us solve the problem? But for someone to say no, it has to do with these people or not. The Niger Delta issue didn't just start today. It started the first day oil was discovered in Olubiri in Bayelsa State. The people have gone through a lot of structural violence, and after a while, they are going to start perceiving their disposition and want to come out and fight. That's what you're saying. If you go to the southeast, almost the same thing. Almost the same thing after the Civil War, the issue of reintegrating the people and trying to heal the wound of the Civil War. Has that been done? No. So after a while, you too didn't witness the war. We'll look at things and think otherwise. That's what you're saying. Now, to the Northwest, on government spaces, years of maladministration and bad governance. That's what you're saying. So it didn't start with this government. But the problem is, are we finding a solution, or are we being rhetoric about everything? And that's what we're doing. We've decided to take the latter. We should sit down to find a solution. And to find a solution cannot lie in one man, one political party, and one person. You need to pull the country, everyone together, everyone. That's the only way. Because if you live in Banana Island and think it's not my business, if you live in Lagos and think it's not your business, let me tell you how it's your business. When youth from Zamfara, who are farmers, can no longer farm, they'll find their way to Lagos. When they come to Lagos, they don't get a job. There's a connection between poverty and criminality. They'll go into crime. So one day it will get to you. So let's just know that this is not about the North, not about the Southeast, not about the Southwest. It's about Nigeria and every Nigerian. So unless we sit down as a people headed by this government and start developing security architecture that will work for us, remove politics around it, that's the only way we can solve this, our problem.
Well, thank you. As we bring this to a close, I'd like you to just briefly detail your report on the drawing to a close of the presidential amnesty program and what your ideas are for that.
Oh, thank you, Toyin. Oh, sorry. Oh,
Sundu, you keep calling me Toyin. Who's Toyin?
Please go ahead. Quickly,
okay.
briefly.
All right. The report did look at the amnesty program 10 years after it was started by President Yar'Adua till date. What has happened? Nigeria has spent so much money, and we seem not to have achieved the objective of the PAP. However, we've achieved some, which is making sure that we'll be able to wage the insurgency in the area by increasing the oil production. However, on the other side, we've not achieved much, which is other objectives of the PAP has not been achieved, because this was supposed to be an interventionist program, but we've turned it almost like every other ministerial or departmental duties that we have in the country. So what the report tried to show is that, see, we've been able to achieve this, but we've not achieved majorly what we wanted to put this, the Niger Delta safe and sound. So for us to do that, we felt that there was no ownership of the program, because the program is now in Abuja, so it now became a contract awarding program. So to be able to do that, part of the things we suggested is that let there be local ownership. To bring this local ownership, government might start thinking about working with the state governments through their own development commissions, So that's part of what we thought about. And again, we thought that there might be need to look at the programs that were developed. Were private sectors involved in it? If private sectors were not involved in it, then that means that the programming was wrong. So these are what we looked at, and we felt government shouldn't be thinking about closing it now, because it might lead to crisis in the region. But in the long term, they should start thinking about how to move some of the program to the states and then find an alternative way to close it. And before all this can happen, it means that the development in the Niger Delta should start taking shape, because all these insurgencies was around lack of development in the region. So if government is able to commit so much money and develop the region within the next 5 years, then it will stand in a better chance to say, okay, we've been able to achieve all this. I think it's time to pull out and close the PAP program.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Nwokolo, for joining us this morning and for your insights. Thank you very much indeed.